I was 22 when I first saw the desert. The endless yellow horizon, the dry wind that cut through everything, even the soul. It wasn't Europe anymore. It wasn't the war we had been told about in flight school. There was no mud, no trees, no villages to fight over. Only the shimmering mirage of sand and sky. My name was Hans Keller, Lieutenant of Jagdgeschwader 27, JG 27. We were the Afrika Jäger, the hunters of the desert, flying the Messerschmitt Bf 109F, our faithful machine. The mechanics called it Der Falke, the Falcon. Light, fast, elegant. But in that heat, it was as fragile as we were. The Bf 109 was not born for the desert. The fine sand crept into everything. Bearings, ammunition belts, even the controls. We learned to take off with filters on the air intakes, to watch oil pressure like hawks. The sun turned the cockpit into an oven. You could burn your hand just touching the metal. But still, when that Daimler-Benz engine came alive, that deep, rolling sound, it felt like power, like defiance against an endless land that wanted to swallow us whole. We knew our enemy well, the Spitfire. Sleek, graceful, a machine that seemed to float rather than fly. We respected it. Every man in the Staffel did. The British pilots who flew them were good, sometimes too good. They came from Malta, from Egypt, from places we could only imagine. And though the newspapers in Berlin told stories of our superiority, in the desert sky there was no propaganda. Only skill, luck, and the will to survive. It was June 1942, over Tobruk. The airfield at Gazala had been bombed the night before, and Rommel's offensive was pushing the British back toward the coast. Our orders were to patrol the area and intercept any enemy reconnaissance aircraft. I remember that morning clearly. The desert was quiet, unnaturally still. The heat shimmered even before noon. I was flying with my wingman, Feldwebel Kruger, at about 3,000 meters. The radio crackled, Feindliche Maschine, 2 o'clock, same altitude. I turned my head, a small silver dot glinting in the sun. Then I saw the elliptical wings, Spitfire. It's strange what you feel in that moment. Not fear, not even anger, just a sharpening of every sense, sound, light, movement. The world becomes small, like the inside of your cockpit. I pushed the throttle forward, 1.3 atmospheres, full combat power. The DB-601 roared. Kruger fell behind, covering my tail. I climbed a little, trying to gain the sun at my back. The Spitfire didn't turn away. He had seen us. He was coming straight on. Head-on passes are madness, two machines closing at more than 800 kilometers per hour. But in the desert, there's nowhere to hide. We crossed so close I could see the roundels on his wings and the flash of his goggles. The wind buffeted the canopy, and then silence. Both of us pulled up, spiraling into the sun. He turned tighter than I expected. The Spitfire could always outturn us in a flat fight. The Messerschmitt was faster, but she was heavier on the stick. The only way to survive was to climb and dive, use the engine, not the wings. I rolled into a steep climb, the G-forces crushing my chest, my vision tunneling gray. The altimeter spun upward. At the top, I kicked the rudder, flipped the 109 over, and dove straight down. The sun vanished behind me, and there he was, below, trying to follow. I squeezed the trigger. The twin MG-17s and the 20mm cannon barked in unison. Tracers stretched toward him, bright lines in the golden light. I saw sparks on his right wingtip, then smoke. But he didn't fall. He rolled, dropped, and turned back toward me with astonishing grace. Now I was the hunted. The Spitfire came from below, guns blazing. I felt the hits, sharp metallic thuds through the fuselage. The engine coughed once. I pulled into a climbing roll, the cockpit filling with the smell of hot oil. A bullet had pierced the coolant line. I was losing pressure. I dove again, low, dangerously low, maybe 50 meters above the sand. The Spitfire followed. The dunes blurred beneath us like a rushing sea. The desert winds screamed. It was no longer a duel of men, but of instincts. I banked sharply, skimming the ground, kicking up sand behind me. He matched me perfectly. For a moment, I could almost feel him. Another soul trapped in this blazing hell, bound by the same duty to survive. Then I saw it, a small rise of rock ahead. I pulled up, hard. He tried to follow, but his turn was too wide. He climbed just a second too late, and my cannon found him again. A burst, 3, maybe 4 shells. His left wing exploded into flame. The Spitfire rolled, smoke trailing like a black ribbon. I watched him descend, graceful even in death. He hit the sand near a ridge, the plane folding into itself, then bursting into a cloud of dust. I circled once. I could see movement, a figure crawling out of the wreck. My instinct was to land, but in that place, with enemy patrols nearby, it was impossible. I rocked my wings, a salute maybe. Then I turned north toward our lines. That night, as the sun bled over the horizon, I sat by the tent, staring at the horizon where the Spitfire had fallen. Kruger joined me. He said nothing. None of us celebrated those victories anymore. We had come to respect the enemy, perhaps even envy them. Their courage was the same as ours, only worn under a different flag. In those moments above the desert, nationality vanished. There were no Germans, no Englishmen, only pilots fighting the vast emptiness and their own fear. I never forgot that duel. The desert took many of us. The sun, the sand, the endless sameness, it wore down even the strongest. I survived until 1943, when we were pulled back to Europe. But part of me never left Tobruk. Sometimes, when I hear the hum of a piston engine, I can still feel the heat of that cockpit, the sting of sand in my teeth, the vibration of the controls under my hands. I see that Spitfire again, diving, burning, beautiful in its final arc through the golden air. And I wonder, even now, if the man who flew it lived. War teaches you strange truths. You learn that bravery exists on both sides, that machines, no matter how perfect, are only extensions of the men who fly them, and that in the vast silence after the fight, you are left not with triumph, but with questions that never fade.